The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
So everybody, thank you for joining me, and it's a happy new year from me, Regan, here on The Locker Room. I'm going to be on for about half an hour, 40 minutes to talk through all yesterday's talking points. I hope everybody had a happy new year. Do get involved in the chat, involved in the YouTube as well, and tell us what you thought of yesterday's scores. So Rangers beat Celtic by 3-0 at packed Ibrox Stadium. I thought Rangers were very good. Rangers were outstanding. I think the thing for me on Rangers was they had to really do their best for the manager, because in terms of what they put up in the last two games against Motherwell and St Mirren respectively, they didn't put up a very good show. And I think in terms of what Rangers did yesterday, it proves to everybody in the world of Scottish football that they can really do well and they can really compete. And I think they need to do that more often. From my point of view, I thought Rangers played really well, and we'll get on to Celtic in a minute, but I just honestly felt that Rangers were outstanding. I thought Hadji was great. I thought Raskin was the man of the match. I thought, and fair play to all the Rangers players, because I thought Sterling as well, because don't forget that Rangers were missing Tavernier, Butland. They were missing a lot of good players out there. And I think in terms of the overall quality of the match, I thought Rangers really added to it. And I think in terms of what Rangers really added to the game, that first goal really set the tone of the match. They really got on top of Celtic. It's a great goal by Hadji. But I think going into the game, it wasn't like people were expecting Celtic to really go into the game as underdogs. But I think when you actually watch the match, what my take on the match was Celtic psychologically kind of took the foot off the gas. I don't know if it was subconsciously because of the 14-point lead. Celtic fans in the comments can let me know. But yeah, I think overall, I think it was a real eye-opener for Brendan Rodgers, for his team selection, for his players, for everybody involved, in terms of this was something that nobody expected to happen in the match. And I'm sure the Rangers fan who put his point to the show there to say well done to Rangers, I think he'll even admit himself that he probably didn't expect that level of play from Rangers. And I think fair play to Rangers, because they played really well, and they showed everybody that they're capable of those type of showings. But what Rangers need to do now as an overall squad is they need to do it more often. And I think that's something that the club will also try and do. But if I can move it on to Celtic, I think Celtic as a champions went into that game thinking it was a big game for them, because they wanted to do very well at Ibrox. But I just thought from minute one they didn't really get involved in the match. They didn't really try and create much chances. And I think I'm not there to dig out players, but I think McGregor yesterday and Liam Scales, I thought they were really bad for Celtic yesterday. I didn't think they really showed what they're capable of. I know Scales, in the aftermath of these old foreign matches, like players can really take a battering, and Scales is doing that because he's not showing. We certainly didn't show yesterday what he's capable of, but I think in terms of Celtic, it's their first defeat of this season. They've not been beat since they got beat at Tynecastle a few months ago. at the end of May last year. So I think in terms of Celtic, it's a reality check. It's a stepping stone. It's also a reality that they've got a very good Rangers team that can really cause them problems as well. Because, well, let's not forget that as much as Celtic have played well this season, the Rangers need to do that more often, and they need to show people that they are able to do well on that level, because it's okay Rangers showing up against Celtic on that magnitude of the match, but they also need to show up in the big match that we'll get on to talk about uh, in Edinburgh on Sunday against David Graney's side, because we'll get on to Hibs in a minute, but they picked up a point yesterday against St Johnstone. So I think they also need to make sure that everything manages to that they can stay at that level. But I think in terms of Celtic, I think they were very disappointing. I thought Kyogo was off it. I thought Rio Hatate was off it. And the interesting thing for me yesterday is I actually feel that Celtic might benefit from a refresh from a few players in the squad. Celtic fans in the comments can let me know, but I feel like that this is maybe what I said in the locker room to Michael about 4 or 5 weeks ago, where I feel like this is a time where Celtic might try and make some money on players like Rio Hatate, because for me, they need to be looking to recoup some money, and I would personally try and go in and sign Muller from Motherwell. I think he's proven this season that he's a very good player, and I think as well that squads over time need a refresh, and I think Celtic are at that point where they need new players in the squad, and I think to bring people up to speed, Celtic are in talks at the moment with Tierney, Scotland international from Arsenal. Celtic are in talks to bring him back on um, a season-long loan, which will then go into a permanent deal. That is the talk at the moment, that Tierney will be back at Celtic before the end of January, um, as a free transfer at the beginning of May. So that's something that I think Celtic will try and look at, is to try and get Tierney on loan, and then possibly a wide player and possibly a striker, because I think it's going to be an interesting few months now, because as much as people say the league is now finished, but it's important for Celtic now to get back to winning ways. But they've got two big matches now coming up against Dundee United and St Mirren on Sunday at Celtic Park. So I think overall, from a Celtic point of view, they'll just be looking to get back to winning ways and hoping that will not distract them of this weekend, because they clearly didn't expect it. But what I would say is fair play to Rangers, because their manager's been under a lot of pressure and he's dealt with it very well. Moving on, I want to because it's a short show tonight, I want to talk about Aberdeen, because Aberdeen really fell off at the moment. They've not won in the last 8 matches. And you know, it's a surprising one for Aberdeen, because as much as I didn't expect them to finish second, I didn't expect them to collapse the way they've collapsed at the moment. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Aberdeen team turned up at the weekend when they play. I think in terms of like what we are going to see in terms of Aberdeen, it's going to be interesting. And I want to hear Paul's thoughts, because I don't know if he was at the game yesterday, but I think in terms of Aberdeen, Paul, I want to get your opinion on why you think it's actually Aberdeen have really fell away at the moment. I don't understand why myself at the moment, because I thought the Aberdeen manager Jeremy really started off well. He's done everything he possibly could, but it seems as if Aberdeen have really fell off a cliff at the moment. they don't seem to have the same spirit. And in terms of Ross County, though, it was a great win for Ross County. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Paul, and where you think it's going wrong. Um, and obviously, in terms of Aberdeen, they've now got they're now sitting in fourth place, and that's not something that I thought a few weeks ago. Aberdeen would really be in fourth place because I thought Aberdeen were a shoe in to 4 or 5 weeks ago because I was looking back today and like 4 weeks ago, Aberdeen were 12 points in front of Dundee United with a game in hand, you know, and I'd just love to hear what Paul's thoughts are on like in terms of well, I don't understand why Aberdeen have fell away so much. Obviously, great win for Ross County, beating Aberdeen again. I mean, Don Cowie, back-to-back away victories at Dundee and at Aberdeen now. A very good point for him at home against Hearts, 2-2. So I think in terms of if you're a Ross County supporter, you've got to be very happy at the moment. In terms of the other matches at the moment, that were on yesterday with the Dundee Derby. That was an absolute classic for anyone that didn't see it. It was Dundee 1, Dundee United 2. Obviously, the former Dundee United striker, Simon Murray, he puts Dundee United 1-0 up after 61 minutes. Then Dundee United, they get the winner through the top goal scorer in the Premier League this season, Sam Dalby. He's been a great signing for Jim Goodwin at the moment. I think in terms of Dundee United, I mean, it's been a great season so far this season. I'm seeing Dave Deadpool McCabe in the chat there, and he's talking about. I'll bring up your comment there. So you're asking me the question: would Kearney be an automatic place in the Celtic team if he comes back? Well, for me, I think he would because I think he gets Brendan Rodgers' blessing. I don't think Brendan Rodgers spends that money on a player as much as Celtic are not going to spend money on him. Dave Deadpool. The thing for me is that there'll be a big wage that Celtic will have to pay on him, and I think in terms of that as well, you've got to imagine that in terms of Celtic, they've got to be thinking to themselves that they're going to get a free transfer basically, but for a £40 million left back. So Celtic are winning out of this. But the only thing I would say to your point, David, would he be an automatic pick? For me, the only thing that derails Tierney at the moment would be is the fact that he's always injured at the moment. That's the only thing for me, Dave, that would stop Brendan Rodgers from playing Tierney week in, week out. But you've got to say it's a fantastic signing for Celtic. Graham Shinnie and Hema Nielsen have suffered badly from fatigue just now. Nicky Devlin is starting to show signs of fatigue. And I think that's a good point you make there, Paul, in terms of, like, if you look at Aberdeen, Dundee United, even Hibs and Hearts, like, you look at Hearts, they're calling boys back from loan at the moment. I think the big thing for clubs at the moment, of course, Celtic are the biggest difference here. They've got a lot of money, they've got a lot of players. But if you look at clubs like Aberdeen, Dundee United, they're doing great things at the moment, no doubt about it. But they've got a very small squad to choose from. And I think that's the problem. I think that's a good point you made there. Paul, is Aberdeen's got a very small squad, so every single game they're playing, they're then relying on the exact same players to then show again what they're capable of. And I think that's not right. But it's a situation that they're in. But the question I would have for you then, Paul, is in terms of everybody knows now it's a Happy New Year. January's here. So who would you bring in to try and make it better? Because I think for me, Dave, just watching Aberdeen on the odd occasions that I do, I think Aberdeen are crying out for another striker. They're probably crying out for another midfielder. And no disrespect to Ross Doohan. I know Mitov got injured again yesterday, Paul, but he doesn't look up to it. Ross Doohan either. So Aberdeen need to be looking at quite a few areas. Yeah, just going back to Dave here, he says, yes, mate, Tierney is injury prone. That's why I'm sceptical about his transfer back to Celtic. I think everybody's sceptical um about, about Tierney going back to Celtic. I think even Celtic supporters, Dave, are sceptical about him going back. But the one thing you know about Tierney is if you can get him playing, and I've seen it firsthand playing for Scotland. He's an outstanding footballer. So Celtic will just be hoping that they can get him back to full throttle and hopefully he can be the player that he once was. Kiskinen does much better on the left. He started on the right yesterday. Yeah, I know what you mean, Dave. I think in terms of Aberdeen, I'm quite interested because, as you know, they've got a big match now against Motherwell at the weekend on Sunday. That match is live on the telly as well. It's going to be interesting to see how Aberdeen react because it's a big match and it's something that the club will need to address in terms of right. Well, Aberdeen need to get back to winning ways as soon as possible. And I think in terms of Aberdeen as well, if you look at people like Nisbet, Sockler, even is it Papagay, Paul, who was very good at the first part of the season, and he's got injured, and then you've not got these players to then call on. So I think in terms of that, it's all very difficult, but it all comes down to the strength of squad and also if that player's not there, you've not got the same quality that's able to step in there. I think that's just the difference between Celtic and the rest of Scottish football is you look at Celtic's bench yesterday, as much as Celtic were awful and Rangers fully deserved the victory, Celtic brought players off the bench of quality and they still couldn't uh, manage to get 3 points in fair play to Rangers because they played really well. The one unsavoury incident I want to talk about yesterday was the actual the Rangers supporter that threw an object at both Brendan Rodgers and Arnie Engels. I just feel like there needs to be something done about these people at Scottish football because as much as they're only the odd few, these are people that are ruining football for people like me and people, all you guys in the comments that are talking about the beautiful football that we enjoy. You know, these people are ruining it. Why are these people allowed to throw objects at people or do whatever? It's not acceptable. You know, it's not right. And the headlines yesterday should have been all about Rangers and the 3-0 victory. But the headlines after the game was all about an incident during the match to Engels. And as Brendan Rodgers rightfully points out, guys, that could have been serious for the Celtic player, and that's something that I feel that this person needs to see consequences because there needs to be a precedent set that if you do something like this, you need to um, I'm not going to say be banned because I just think you need to know that it's not acceptable to go to matches and do stuff like this. I think in terms of um, moving on now to Hearts, is what eh, as someone has said, Hearts FC here. Leo, he's saying that I want to get on to Hearts because they um, they go up 2-2 against Ross County. They were 2-0 up through 2 goals through James Wilson. Well done to him. He's done really well in the absence of Lauren Shangland. And I know loads of Hearts fans that I speak to at the moment are talking about the fact that possibly they didn't even miss Lauren Shangland. So I think when you look at overall, you've got to admit that in terms of Hearts, they are trying to get by at the moment, and they're doing okay. But I think in terms of that match against Ross County during the week, that's a match that they should have been sewn up as well. Um, but yeah, the very good win yesterday against Motherwell. Obviously, Craig, I think Hearts should have been well clear from the moments that I seen during the game. But fair play to Motherwell, and Craig Gordon pulled it out a great save near the end as well to keep it at 1-0 to Hearts. So I think in terms of Hearts, they'll just be looking to build on what they're doing at the moment, but also they'll be looking to try and get a lot of bodies in during January because I see they're letting a few players go. Is it Kai Rolls as well, the centre back? So they'll be looking. I'm sure they've got many areas that they want to improve on. And I think in terms of Hearts are a big club in Scottish football, so they'll want to try and improve and they'll want to try and stay in the division because um, it's not acceptable for a club of Hearts size to be where they are. We'll move on because it's a short show tonight. I just want to talk about um, a little bit about Michael's favourite subject, VAR. And I want to talk about some of the instances over the past few days. The first one that springs to mind is the Jack Butland incident. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It was Motherwell and Rangers. Obviously, this is their first show back after the new year. And Rangers drew 2-2 with Motherwell. But Motherwell and Rangers, Motherwell were winning the match 2-1. Tony Watt drums up for the ball and Jack Butland puts the ball in his own net. Now, I didn't see the match until after, but what I want to say on this incident is fair play to the SFA and fair play to the head of refereeing, Willie, because he came out straight after it and said that the refereeing bodies have made an error. The referee and VAR made an error. That goal should have stood. And for me, it's a great point that Willie makes in terms of, I just feel like that basically that goalkeepers get too much protection over the other players because for me that has to be a goal, and fair play to the SFA and to Willie for coming out and fronting it up because it would have been easy to hide away, but it's been very refreshing to see that he's been able to do that and come out and say what he feels on it. The next thing we're going to go on to is to talk about the other match yesterday, and that was St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 1. I think in terms of St Johnstone, they'll be they'll be glad to get a point because they went down to 10 men during the game. And they'll just be glad that they are able to get a point on the board. Obviously, Alistair Blair, who is on the show, I hope he's listening, and he is at the moment over in Argentina, so we wish him well over there with his family at the moment. St Johnstone, they've played some good football this season under um, Valakari. He's done some great things since he's come in. And I just feel like St Johnstone will be okay. My prediction at the start of the season was that Motherwell would go down simply for the fact that they lost they lost Blair Spittle and they lost Theo Bennett at the start of the season, but fair play to Stuart Kettlewell and to Stevie Field because they've really done really well this season and they've over exceeded expectations. Even if some Motherwell fans are still unhappy with the style of play, but I don't really see it myself because I feel like Motherwell are really punching above their weight. Paul makes a point here. File on Paul Avara versus Dundee United's Aberdeen game. BBC didn't show it in Sports Scene, but Dundee United scored from a long throw just after Dundee United were only given the decision, in my opinion. Do you know, Paul? I tend to agree with you there. I felt like Paul Avara was going down, and as soon as I seen that the referee wasn't going to award a free kick to Aberdeen, I then had the feeling because of the long throws of Ferry, I thought that this is going to be a danger for Aberdeen, and I was proven to be right because Dundee United have got a very good set piece specialist in Will Ferry. He's done really well this season, and that was just something that I just think everything's going wrong for Aberdeen at the moment, Paul. I don't know if you agree, but it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back on Sunday because as much as they've done really well this season to get the position they're in, they don't want to go any longer, Paul, in terms of like not being able to win a game because the longer it goes, as much as I was saying that early in the season that confidence is flowing for Aberdeen, well, the confidence will be draining out the squad if they're not able to win. So I think in terms of Aberdeen, they'll just be hoping that they can get back to winning ways as soon as possible, and then focus on that third place. But I think it's very disappointing from Aberdeen because I did feel like I did feel like they were going to put up a real fight to Rangers for that second place, but it seemed to have faded. But I think when you look back at the cold light of day, Paul, I feel like Aberdeen fans, maybe you can answer this question, but I feel like Aberdeen fans would really take third place and a good run in the Scottish Cup because after the debacle which was Warnock to Scottish football, I think Aberdeen fans would be very happy with third place and a good run in the Scottish Cup. Thank you for your comment. Someone says it will take Jimmy to lean 2 or 3 years to build up a good team with no money. Stop expecting miracles. Alex Ferguson took 4 years to win a cup with Aberdeen. And I think that's a good point you make in terms of Aberdeen. Okay, Aberdeen fans expect to win trophies. That's what the great Alex McLeish and Willie Miller and all the players did. Gordon Strachan, Mark McGee, all the great Aberdeen sides back in the 90s under the manager you mentioned, Sir Alex Ferguson. But I think after the start of the season, as you say, after that start of the season, I think it will be a better pill to swallow because Aberdeen fans did. I think they realistically did think that they were going to challenge for second place. I did feel, especially that they were managing to keep pace with Rangers as well. Um, Paul's now saying he totally agree. I can't believe some of the fans are now wanting Jimmy sacked. Is that true, Paul? Some of the Aberdeen fans are wanting Jimmy to lean sacked. No, you must be joking me, Paul, because what he's done so far has been really good. I mean, I can totally understand, but this is where I come back to. I feel like social media is a real hindrance to modern life now because I feel like Aberdeen are doing okay. They're not won any in the last 8 matches, I think it is, Paul. But Aberdeen have done really well this season. I just feel like you said, I just can't believe that any fan would want to see the manager ru- um, lose his job at this point. I just feel like it's for me, it's a no go. For me, he's done a really good job, and Aberdeen fans just need, as you and the other commenter said there, Aberdeen fans just need to be realistic and say, right, well, we had the debacle of Neil Warnock last year, and now's a chance to really get into third place and hopefully win the Scottish Cup. I think that needs to be the aim for Aberdeen. That needs to be the overall aim, and I think the fans need to. I think the fan that you said that wants Jeremy to be sacked, they need to have a reality check. I mean, of course, everybody has expectations and stuff like that of the club, but I think Aberdeen. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everything this season's got a lot better. The the stadium seems to be selling out more. Obviously, they've got Alan Burrows now as the chairman, the chief exec. They've brought in a new head of recruitment as well. So I don't think it's as simple as like because you win a few games that everything's rosy in the garden, and now because you lose a few games that everything should start again and like stuff like that. I feel like people can be overreaction. And okay, everybody's entitled to free speech. They're entitled to their opinion, but they also need to be realistic as well. And I don't see any need to replace the manager. Paul says yes, but mainly social media fans don't know. And I think that's a good point you made, Paul, in terms of I think social media really took over the landscape of Scottish football at the moment. I mean, people are now saying that now keeps the Rangers manager, for example, Paul in a job. Well, Rangers fans, um, like 2 days ago, Paul, were saying that this manager should be gone. So it just shows you how quickly things can change in football. And football fans are very, very fickle. And all it takes, Paul, is, for example, is for Rangers to bring in Yanis Hadji and Agamari, and the whole thing seems to have changed. And I think all it takes for Aberdeen is if they go away to Motherwell on Sunday and say they win by 2 or 3 goals, everything will be forgotten because they'll be third in the league, and Aberdeen fans will be thinking, right, if we can maintain this and get a good run going, but we can also try and get a few players in January. I think Aberdeen fans' expectations were very will be very, very high again. And just to go back on what you said there, that you've heard that some Aberdeen fans want the manager gone. I think that's also that brings back to my point where those same Aberdeen fans, Paul, those were the same ones that were selling at the stadium and singing the man's name. And I've said on here for years, I'm glad that Aberdeen went down a different route, Paul, because I was I was fed up of Aberdeen and St Mirren and people like that going for the same names like Malcolm Mackay and Neil Lennon. I wanted to see something different, and I just feel like Aberdeen are doing that now. Um, Obviously, I want to move on to now some of the weekend matches, and we'll move on and talk about the match on Sunday, and that's Rangers go away to Easter Road. And it's sort of what I said at the start of the programme, and it's that Rangers played really well yesterday against Celtic, and I think what Rangers did, they played really well. But what Rangers need to do now is they need to go and back it up now on Sunday at Easter Road. They need to go and show everybody, right, well, we're not just a one trick pony. We can go and back it up and show people that we are more than capable of doing it. That's why I said to Michael at the start of the season that I don't feel that Rangers would be able to but beat Celtic over a 38 game period because, yeah, of course, Rangers can beat Aberdeen and Celtic in a one off match. Of course they can. And they can go and draw with Tottenham. But is Rangers able to do it over a 38 game period? I mean, if Rangers, right, if Rangers would have beat St Mirren and beat Motherwell, the the scoreline in terms of the league title would have been 6 points. It would have been 6 points, and it would have been totally back on. But in terms of that, Rangers, they've shown that um, they've not shown that they're able to back it up. So it'll be interesting to see if Rangers can back it up. But you have to say they're in a pole position to do. But then if you look at David Gray's got his team playing really well. They obviously the Edinburgh Derby last week, they won 2-1. Dwight scored to make it 2-1. Dwight Gale, he scored to make it 2-1. And they got a good point yesterday, but they'll be disappointed as well because they also had St Johnson down to 10 men, so they would be hoping to capitalise. But from what I heard and what I've seen, it was probably a fair result in the game, that draw there for St Johnson and Hibs. So I think in terms of the game on Sunday, I'm just interested to see if Rangers can really go there and back it up because that's something that Rangers need to do. Another thing that's really interested me over the past couple of days is that a lot of the Rangers players have come out. Cherny, for example, has come out and said he's tired. I don't buy into this tiredness, because he's getting paid millions of pounds. Um, he's getting paid thousands of pounds. He's training a few days a week for 2 or 3 hours a day. I just don't see how he's tired at this point of the season. It's only half a season played. If you look at James Tavernier and Connor Goldson and Leon Balogun got to the Europa League final, those guys played in excess of 50 games that season. But everybody wasn't complaining then. So I just don't see how all of these sports science issues and things like that. I think once the Rangers manager starts to understand that, okay, sports science is a very good tool. I'm not going to deny that. But what he also needs to remember is the most important thing for Rangers supporters is that Rangers win matches. It's not about I better not put a player on because of the sports science says. And I think, yeah, we're just going to look on this game. My prediction for this game is I'm going to go Rangers to win 2-1. Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody for joining me tonight and listening and for all your comments because it's been great. Obviously, Celtic play St Mirren on Sunday. That'll be a big one for them. Aberdeen, they go away to Motherwell, which is on Premier Sports. So it's going to be a big weekend of Scottish football. And I thank you all for listening. It's been great to be on for the last 40 minutes. And hopefully, me, Michael, Robbie, and Mikey will be all back soon. And I wish you all a happy new year.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need. Live